After all, there were too many mysteries. It was incomprehensible. After thinking it over and over, that was the only conclusion I could come to. There were the histories of the three of them, the source of our food, and above all, the mystery of myself. Before, I had jumped to the simple conclusion that I was an abandoned child, but now that too seemed doubtful. Why? Because I could see no smoke from cooking fires. It occurred to me recently that if there were human settlements, then at this level of civilization, there should be smoke from cooking. But even though I've been paying close attention lately, I haven't seen any such smoke, no matter the time of day or the direction I look. I admit, I have no real knowledge of how far away you can see cooking smoke. But digging up some shallow knowledge, I recall there was a calculation to find the distance to the horizon. You make a right-angle triangle with one side being the Earth's radius and the other being the Earth's radius plus your eye level. Then use the Pythagorean theorem. I think the result was something like 4 or 5 kilometers. Of course, it's questionable whether that applies directly to this world, but it's a good enough reference. And that 4 to 5 kilometer distance gets even longer if you increase your elevation, say by standing on a hill. I remember from stories of the Age of Discovery, this was the reason ships had sharp-eyed sailors in the crow's nest of the mast to search for land. And this calculation, of course, is for the distance to the horizon itself. Anything that rises above the ground beyond the horizon, like a mountain or cooking smoke, can be seen from even farther away. So, a child who doesn't have bad eyesight looking for rising smoke from the top of a hill should have a range of a few dozen kilometers. But there is no cooking smoke within a radius of dozens of kilometers. In other words, I can find no trace of human life. How this relates to the abandoned child theory is simple. If I was abandoned, there must have been someone to do the abandoning, a parent who couldn't raise me or someone. However, at the moment I became aware of my past life's memories, my body couldn't have even been 1 year old. An infant's body is fragile. It's unlikely they would have carried me so far away just to abandon me. For example, there would be no need to make a special journey to this ruined city of the undead, a place clearly isolated from human society by at least several dozen kilometers. I believe a normal adult male traveling on foot on a reasonably maintained road could cover about 30 kilometers a day. If you consider the round trip of abandoning me and returning, that's a full day's journey for just 15 kilometers. Any farther, and they'd have to camp out in the wilderness. That seems strange. If I really were an abandoned child, what kind of parent would spend an entire day and camp overnight just to abandon a baby far away? I can't help but wonder. Therefore, I have to consider the possibility that I am probably not an abandoned child. But then, when I wonder where I came from, no other good ideas come to mind. I wasn't born from a tree stump. I must have biological parents somewhere, and there must be a story of how I came to this ruined city. Could it be that I was a child Mary and Blood had before they became undead? No, that's impossible. The three of them likely became undead around the same time the city fell. They've let slip stories of what the city was like when it was still intact in daily conversation, so I'm almost certain of it. The city shows considerable deterioration over time. We're not talking 10 or 20 years, so the timing doesn't match. It would be impossible for them to become undead 50 or 100 years ago and then have a child 8 years ago. Furthermore, conceiving a child through intercourse while in a state of undead is even more impossible. They likely have no proper metabolism, and neither Blood nor Gus has physical male genitalia. So, those three are undoubtedly my adoptive parents, not my origins. My origins remain a mystery. Perhaps the most plausible theory is that some careless traveling couple abandoned me here, I suppose. But even then, it feels strange that in 7 years, not a single traveler has passed through this place. No matter how much I think about it, I can't figure it out. Just who is this me? Will? Whoa! My shoulders jumped with a start. I had been lost in thought. She surprised me. What's wrong? You stopped moving." "Sorry, Mary. I was just thinking." At my words, Mary gave a soft smile. She must have been incredibly beautiful when she was alive, but now, well, it's a little scary. Though I've mostly gotten used to the scariness by now. "Thinking, but it's hot out. Let's finish up our work and you can think inside." "Okay." I nodded and raised the hoe again. At first, I couldn't use it properly at all, only managing to get the blade shallowly into the ground. But now, for a child, I can dig the blade in quite deep. The earth is surprisingly heavy and hard. For a child's body, this is pretty heavy labor. This is the vegetable garden next to the temple. It's summer now, so the tomatoes and aubergines are ripening in vibrant colors. It had apparently been abandoned for a long time, but since I arrived, they've gathered the vegetables that had gone wild and are managing the plot again. Herbs like thyme, lemon balm, mint, and lavender were planted around the perimeter to repel insects, their distinct, strong scents mixing with the smell of the soil. Right now, I'm helping Mary till a section of the garden we hadn't used before. She said she wants to use it for summer-sown carrots and autumn-sown potatoes and onions. I learned the names of all these vegetables and herbs, how to tell them apart, when to plant their seeds, and how to harvest them, all from Mary. I learn academics from Gus and martial arts from Blood, but in terms of learning, I feel I learned the most from Mary. From personal grooming and how to use the toilet to manners, classic children's songs, and old folk tales. Or how to grow vegetables, maintain farm tools, weave cloth, wash it, and how to clean a room properly. If I follow Mary around, she'll teach me anything from scratch, patiently and without the slightest annoyance. In my previous, convenient life, I lived a rather broken and pathetic existence, so I'm embarrassed to admit I have almost no practical life skills. In that respect, Mary was completely down to earth. Compared to the otherworldly Gus or the somewhat brutish Blood, Mary's life skills were top-notch. She sleeps and wakes at regular hours and works every single day, pulling weeds in the fields, airing out the futons, cleaning the temple, and performing countless other household chores. And she passes on all these fundamentals to me so that one day I can survive on my own. If Mary hadn't been in this temple, I might have become a useless person all over again. However, there is one mystery about Mary. Several times a day, she secludes herself in the temple's main hall. She says she is praying, but I've been instructed not to enter the hall during that time. What's more, Gus and Blood subtly stand guard nearby to keep me from going in. It might be that she is truly just praying in silence and wants to avoid being disturbed by a mischievous child like me, but with so many mysteries piling up, I can't help but suspect that this might be connected to one of them. I should try to find out. I thought to myself as I turned the earth with the hoe. I might find a clue to unravel one of these mysteries. Blood. For starters, I decided to fake an illness. During my training with Blood, I acted like I was feeling unwell and asked if I could rest for a bit. Perhaps because I was always so diligent, Blood didn't seem to suspect a thing. He believed me and told me to rest in my bed. He watched over me in bed for a while, but after some time, he said he was going out to the forest to hunt for something nourishing and left. I had gambled that, given his personality, Blood wouldn't just sit by my bed indefinitely, and I was right. Then, taking care not to be seen by anyone, I crept out of my room and sneaked quietly toward the main hall. I opened the door little by little so as not to make a sound and peered inside. And in that instant, I gasped. Mary was on fire! In the temple hall, with a silver basin placed just in front of her, facing the sculpture depicting a god, bathed in a faint band of light streaming from the skylight, kneeling, her hands clasped. She was in a pose of earnest prayer. Even as white flames clung to her entire body and a thick, acrid smoke rose from her, my mind went completely blank. I screamed and rushed in, but Mary didn't seem to notice me. As if she had turned to stone, Mary didn't break her posture. She was offering a prayer. Panic seared my thoughts, sweat beaded on my skin, a loud ringing pounded in my ears. I belatedly realized that I was the one screaming, so loud my throat could tear. But even screaming right next to her, she didn't react. Desperate to do something, anything, I reached for Mary's body, which was engulfed in flames. Her body was charred, glowing red, and carbonized. I touched her. My own palm was seared. An intense pain and agony made me reflexively want to pull my hand back. To hell with that. I instantly crushed the reflex. I didn't care if I got hurt. Mary was in danger. She was in danger. The searing desperation paralyzed everything else. Blood! Gus, come here! It's Mary! Mary! Shaking Mary's body, I shrieked at the top of my lungs. I told you all to be so careful. Gus spoke sternly, his face soured as he admonished Blood and Mary. My apologies. Blood straightened his posture and bowed his head to Mary and Gus. No, it was my fault for keeping it a secret. Mary hung her head, looking dejected. Her body, which had been so horribly burned, was now somehow completely restored. I had been laid on a simple bed in a stone room, my own room. My head was spinning, my hands hurt. They hurt terribly. Groaning, I clutched the blanket, desperately trying to endure the pain. My memory of what happened is hazy, but I was told that Gus heard my screams and came rushing through the wall right away. Apparently, I had been in a half-crazed frenzy, shaking the unmoving Mary and screaming my head off, not caring that my own arms were burning. Gus pulled me away immediately and performed first aid, including some magic, but naturally, I had burned my hands and arms. I'd heard that serious burns were painful, but this was agony. A throbbing, intense pain pulsed from both of my arms. I've heard that people who suffer severe, widespread burns often beg those around them during their treatment to just kill me, and now I understood why. To endure this all over your body for days on end, it would truly be better to be dead. What about Will's hands? Will they heal completely on their own? It may be difficult. Fortunately, his fingers didn't fuse together, but scarring will be unavoidable. I overheard their grim conversation. Well, yeah, I thought, of course. It had felt like grabbing a hot coal, and I hadn't let go. Clean cloths were wrapped around them now, but I could feel bodily fluid seeping into the fabric. I was sure it would be a ghastly sight if I unwrapped them. The thought that it might even affect my ability to open and close my hands was terrifying. Will, I'm so sorry, Will. It's my fault. No, it's not. It was my fault for lying and peeking in the first place. But I had no regrets. The fact that Mary was back to normal probably meant this was a regular occurrence, something she had hidden from me so I wouldn't worry. And I, unnecessarily, had tried to help her and ended up with a permanent injury. There's nothing to apologize for. I'm just glad you're okay, Mary. It was a reckless act, born of ignorance. Some might call me a fool, but I was relieved. My actions might have been meaningless, but still, Mary was safe. The one who had so gently raised me ever since I was born into this world was safe. I had been able to act. For Mary's sake, I had acted without a thought for the consequences. I hadn't let self-preservation or calculation stop me. Unlike in my past life, I hadn't made excuses or let the fear of risk paralyze me. That's why. Don't worry about it so much, okay? I could smile at Mary from the bottom of my heart. There's nothing to apologize for. I'm just so glad you're safe. Will? Mary's eyes were still downcast, and she was trembling. It was an expression I had never seen on her before, and I couldn't quite read what she was feeling. Thank you, Will, thank you. Mary reached out and pulled my head into an embrace as I lay there. She smelled of burnt incense. It wasn't unpleasant, but a calming scent. Blah. All right, so why did you go so far as to fake being sick just to spy on the prayers? Waiting for Mary to compose herself, Blood posed the question. His tone was harsh. It seemed he intended to scold me first. Yeah, that's fair. It's strange to say it myself, but regardless of the circumstances, I had disobeyed a rule and gotten hurt. I deserved a proper reprimand. I've been wondering for a long time why the three of you are here, and why I, a living person, am here with you. I thought I might find a clue in the prayers you told me not to watch. Like the Caligula effect in psychology, or the thou shalt not look taboos in myths and folklore. When something is forbidden, it just makes you more curious. That said, if nothing had been out of the ordinary, I had planned to just sneak a peek and leave it at that. If Mary hadn't been in that state, no, that's just an excuse. I'm pretty sure I told you I'd explain everything when you got bigger, didn't I? Blood made a gesture like he was sighing. Did you think we were the kind of people who would forbid something without a reason? Or did you think we were liars? Will, you're a smart kid. You should understand that if something is forbidden, there's a good reason for it. Yes, you're absolutely right. All I can say is that my patience ran out. Please, Blood, you don't have to be so harsh. Will was just being a curious child. Mary, stay out of this for now. Blood stopped Mary, who had timidly tried to defend me, and looked down at me. Will, do you have any other reasons or excuses? No, I'm sorry. The moment the words left my mouth, Blood raised his fist and brought it down hard on my head. A sharp impact ran through me. My head swam. Tears welled up in my eyes as a physiological reflex. From now on, you will consult with me or Mary first. This area has ruins and, well, it can be dangerous. It's a real pain when you run off on your own. I nodded, yes. And then a thought occurred to me. How long had it been since someone had scolded me, including my past life? In my past life, everyone around me had completely given up on me. They thought scolding me was pointless and treated me like a fragile thing. Right now, Blood was willingly playing the bad guy. He was properly getting angry with me, fully prepared for the possibility that I might avoid him or become afraid of him from now on. Feeling happy about being scolded might be a little strange. And Will... Blood uncurled his fist and rustled my hair roughly. You did well, jumping in for Mary's sake. That wound is a man's medal of honor, you know. I couldn't help but let the corners of my mouth turn up into a smile. I'm your apprentice, after all. Oh, you little, saying things that make me happy. As we laughed and messed around, Mary smiled in relief, and Gus just shrugged as if to say, give me a break. By the way, Mary, shouldn't we just tell Will about the prayers now? Our own histories, that's tricky. If we tell him carelessly, Will is likely to piece things together and arrive at some incredible conclusions. But I, for one, have no desire to be dragged into a mess like this a second or third time. Yeah, I guess so. I think it's better that way, Blood agreed. You're right. This incident has taught me that being too secretive can be more dangerous, Mary nodded. Then Gus turned to me with a formal expression. Will, this might be a bit unsettling, but listen. Unsettling? About your food. Every time, Mary has been summoning it by setting herself on fire. What? You see, there was that silver basin, wasn't there? The food appears there after about a quarter hour of prayer. Is this a joke? Do I look like I would joke about something like this? Wait, just wait a second. I can't process this. Explain in detail. That was all I could manage to say, but Gus explained everything. Shukuto Jutsu, or the blessing arts, commonly called prayers, incantations, rites, or blessings, is a way of borrowing the supernatural power of the gods. In the age of myths, there were gods who lost their physical bodies in great battles and departed to the far reaches of the dimensions. The blessing arts are a means of manifesting the power of one of these gods on Earth through the user's own body as a medium. It's an art that can create food and drink called sacred bread and holy wine, or heal sickness and injury, things that ancient language magic cannot do. It can also provide revelations and guidance in uncertain situations, and it's said that a master can even channel a god into their own body. However, it also has limitations that ancient language magic doesn't. Since it borrows a god's power, it can only be used by those who can commune with that god. This means one must possess a spirit favored by the god they borrow from, or have truly deep faith. Also, one cannot do things the god dislikes. For example, you can't use highly aggressive arts against another follower of the same benevolent god. And, if you repeatedly commit evil acts, your ability to use the blessing arts can be revoked. It was a type of magic with its pros and cons, but the reason its existence had been kept from me was because if you heard about it, you would immediately deduce that Mary was the user. You're clever like that. Well, Mary is pious and kind. She certainly seems like the type who could use it. I definitely would have guessed as much. And then you would eventually study the myths, put the pieces together, and figure out that she was setting herself on fire. And then you would declare that you refuse to eat food that she has to burn herself to create, even if we told you that we are high-level undead and that our bodies can regenerate from something like this. Of course I would refuse, but why is she on fire in the first place? That is, it is because I became undead, because I betrayed the Earth Mother, Mater. Mary's eyes were cast down. Her head was bowed, her expression pained. We made a pact with the unclean god of undeath, Stagnate, and transformed our bodies into the undead. And the Earth Mother, Mater, is the adversary of the undead god. The mere touch of her divine spirit is enough to burn the unclean undead. I remembered the sculpture in the temple. The Earth Mother, Mater, a plump woman with a benevolent smile, holding an infant in her arms against a backdrop of ripened grain. There is no way I could be forgiven. Mary said she was being punished, but if that was the case, then to still pray? For me? For my sake? Was Mary praying, burning her own body, just to create my daily bread? If so, I'll work harder in the fields. I'll hunt, too. So, that's not it, Will. Mary dismissed my concern with a soft smile. Her voice was gentle and enveloping. Offering my morning and evening prayers to the Earth Mother has been my daily routine since before I met you. She wasn't lying. Mary was impossible of lying with a smile and a voice like that. I knew that from the 7 years we had spent together. The Earth Mother Mater is the guardian of children. After meeting you, Will, I began to pray that she might grant us even a little food, but the habit of prayer itself has not changed. What Mary says is true. I'll vouch for it, Gus affirmed with a calm nod. I told her a few times that she'd done enough, Blood muttered, his face slightly bitter. Why? Even with the memories of a past life, it was an act I couldn't comprehend. It meant that before I came, Mary had been setting herself on fire every day for no reward at all. Doesn't it hurt? It does. It makes me want to cry. Though I can no longer shed tears, Mary smiled. She continued, even if she had betrayed her God, and even if she was repaid with pain, even so, I still adore the Earth Mother. She's beautiful, I thought. I thought Mary, with her unwavering smile, was incredibly beautiful. Mary is a mummy, like a withered tree or a self-mummified monk. At first glance, one's first impression would surely be of something ghastly or terrifying. But to my eyes, Mary looked so very beautiful. To betray someone you adore, likely against your will. To be rejected. To be burned every time you try to reach out. To be repaid with intense pain no matter how many times you try. How much suffering must that be? With my shallow life experience, which includes a past life utterly devoid of faith, I cannot truly know her pain. I can only imagine that it must be agonizing. It must be excruciating. It wouldn't be strange at all if she wanted to curse something, to hate something. The me from my past life certainly would have. But Mary accepted her suffering with tranquility. I had never once seen her curse or hate anyone, and that Mary, to me, looked so very beautiful. Even if these prayers are never accepted. Will, Mary called my name gently, I believe that there is still meaning in the act of praying. Is that so? I wondered. I also thought. Besides, Mater herself says nothing, but since I met you, Will, she has blessed me with daily sacred bread. The Earth Mother, Mater, was holding a baby in the sculpture. She must also be a guardian deity of children. Even if I am not forgiven, that alone is salvation enough for me. It's thanks to you, Will, Mary said in a playful tone. I truly am sorry for keeping it a secret, but it would make me happy if you would continue to eat the bread. The burns on my arms, Mary setting herself on fire. Those were certainly good enough reasons for the bread to get stuck in my throat. But, okay, I'll eat it. I think I can, I thought, and then, but I have one favor to ask. What is it? If it's at all possible, from now on, let me pray with you. What Mary sees, what Mary feels. I wanted to understand it, even just a little.